And welcome, everybody, to Twitch Sports. My name is Seth Everett. We are here. We are live on my Twitch channel, Seth Everett. And you can follow this channel anytime. You can subscribe as well. That's my NCAA bracket that I printed out just the couple of minutes ago as the NCAA tournament is underway. We're going to be here for 2 hours, but Twitch Sports, our partners in crime on this one, they are going to be here all throughout the day and night watching the games with you. Now, we can't air the games. We're not fooling anyone. We don't have the rights to air the games. We do have the rights to air Thursday Night Football very, very soon. But, or at least that's is that official? I hope that's official. I just said it, so it must be official. But this is very special for me. Will, thank you very much for the follow. This is very, very special, I think, because we appreciate the fact that the tournament is back. I think it's very important that we acknowledge that. The tournament being canceled last year was really, really disappointment. It was very, very disappointment. RR Jewel, thank you for the follow. The tournament being canceled last year was a major, major blow to the sports world. This is not going to be something something bigger than, the NBA came back, the NHL came back, baseball had a season, football had their season. This was the loss. And I didn't realize how much I missed it instantly. I missed it so much. And the funny part about that is I didn't realize it until I was filling out my bracket. I didn't realize that it was so interesting. There's just so much there. So we can talk about that. Andrew writes, I thought this was a Snyder Cut watch party. I will say I'm through 4 parts of the 6-part extravaganza of Snyder Part. I can't just tell exactly how much. J.R. Bond, I am only in your left ear. I can fix that. I know how to fix that. Watch this. I can fix it. 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 All right. We can take care of that. People are amazed by how many people are watching. I love that. Don't worry about who's watching. I promise people are watching. Properties. There's properties. Nope. That's not it. Refresh. Let's see. There you go. Through 4 parts. Me too. Yeah, we can. I'm fixing the audio. I will fix the audio. Where is the thing to fix the audio? Down mix to mono. There you go. Does that work? Did I fix it? There you go. We got it. We've fixed it. We totally fixed it. There you go. Better. Thank you, Will. Phew. I got so nervous. I hit the wrong thing. I didn't realize. And it's funny, when I tested everything was showing up right until you hit live. And then you hit live, and once you're live, you can't do it. Anyway, enough about that. Like I said, I thought the tournament just being back is very, very big. It's weird that today is Friday and this is the first real day. This is usually the Thursday. They did that because of COVID, and that's something to be said for that. The neat thing about it last night, I thought there were some decent games. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was watching the Zack Snyder Justice League. I didn't see these games live. I did see the highlights of them. Drake beating Wichita State. That was a thriller of a game. Also, Appalachian State losing to Norfolk State in the Battle of 16s by just 1. And then the crazy game last night, UCLA and Michigan State, it went into overtime. And like I said, I didn't see those live because I was watching Zack Snyder and the Justice League. So that was basically what I was doing. And here's the other thing about it. The idea that this tournament is so different than any other sporting event in that, number one, everybody watching right now, you all have brackets filled out. You all have done brackets. And if anybody's wondering why I'm wearing orange, because my team plays at 9:30 Eastern tonight. And come on, if I'm doing a college basketball show, I'm wearing my Syracuse colors. That's just kind of how we do. Fakey, thank you very much. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you very much for the follow. We got some special guests coming up, including a guy who played in the NCAA tournament, not this year, but he's an extraordinary gent. Eric Devendorf is going to join us in just a second. We'll also get some friends to stop by. We'll take your comments. We don't have brackets. I don't know how March Madness works. Ha, 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 ha. Very cute. Everybody has a bracket. Everybody has a bracket. This is the most gambled sporting event. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. More people bet on March Madness than any other sporting event. The only thing that has more money spent on online gambling in 2020 was the presidential election. I'm telling you, that's how it goes. All right, I believe Eric is ready, so we're going to welcome him. So we'll say admit, and if this goes off kilter, let's try to go side by side. There he goes. That looks nice. I like that.
What's up, man?
How you doing, buddy?
Can't complain. How you doing?
Eric Devendorf, ladies and gentlemen, and there you go. We'll just slide that over here like that. There's my man, Eric Devendorf. Tell folks who are watching, what years did you play in the NCAA tournament?
So I was at Cuse 2005 to 2009, and I played in 05, 06, and 08, 09, and then I got hurt one year. I played 2 out of my 4 years.
I remember that.
Yeah.
We were just commenting about how special this tournament is and how this tournament is different than any other sporting event, because I think that as time has gone on, even since the days when you played, I think the regular season in college basketball has been minimized. I think ratings aren't what they used to be. I don't think people watch college basketball, but not caring who the tournament has in it, the tournament itself, once it becomes the NCAA tournament, it just takes on another level.
And it might be because of the brackets and a little bit of gambling it gets involved. But I think, like you said, people who aren't even watching college basketball during the regular season get excited about the tournament. It's just, I don't know, it's just a different level, man. I mean, having played in the regular season, then, played in the tournament, it's a whole different environment. It's a whole different feeling, and it's super special. And then obviously missing it last year, I think it's that much more special this year to have it again and at least have a little bit of fans there.
Yeah, and one of those fans is going to be you. Are you really getting on an airplane? You're going to the games tonight?
I am. I will be there. You see what I got? Come on. This is my everyday attire, but yeah, come on, Seth.
Of course I did. Of course I did.
We're representing, and I will be there cheering as loud as I can, and I hope you can see me on CBS.
I'm going to be – that's what I'm looking for now. That's my new goal is I'm going to be spotting. It's like looking for Easter eggs in a Marvel show. I'm going to be looking for Eric Devendorf. Let me ask you about the idea that everybody played different schedules. So, like, for example, Gonzaga didn't lose, right? Baylor played only 2/3 of the game. They played about 60% of the games they were supposed to play. How do you properly gauge these teams? Because I have thought that a lot of people would – this is just what I'm seeing on social media. More people are saying that it's going to be Duke. It's going to be Gonzaga or Baylor as opposed to the field. If you had to take the field of that 66 other teams versus those two, that there is a discrepancy between the two best and everyone else.
It's super wide open this year. I mean, it's not really, I know Gonzaga was undefeated, and I'm not taking away anything from Gonzaga because they're a great team and they've proved that they've been the best team in college basketball all year. But I'm not sold on that conference out there. I'm not sold on the competition that they play. I think in the ACC, you're built for this. You play against the competition night in and night out. So when it comes tourney time, you're prepared for it. And Baylor, same for Baylor. They play in the Big 12 and they go against Kansas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State and all those teams. So I think it's wide open. I think even for Syracuse being an 11th seed, they could go on a run, and we've seen it before where they don't have,
You've already started drinking.
Yeah. Hey, we've seen it before where they don't have a particularly good regular season, then they go beat Virginia, come back in the second half, and go to the Elite Eight. So it could be another one of those years, but I just think it's wide open. I mean, there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of good teams. And again, it's been a different year. Teams haven't been consistent with practice, and it could throw off a lot of chemistry. But I think now, since we're here, teams are locked in, they're ready to play. But I still think it's wide open. And I did pick other than Cuse, because I'm always going to pick Cuse. All right.
I always pick Cuse to win their first game. That's as far as I that's my loyalty. My loyalty gives them the win in the first round. I don't go much further than that, because if
I like Baylor, though. Seriously, I like Baylor. I just think their guard play. I think you win games with great guard play, right? And I think they have a good enough front line, where they play their roles to a T. But their guard play with Baylor is, if they have 4 guards who can make plays off the dribble, catch and shoot, they're going to be tough to play against.
It's funny because I want to take a look at the scores real quick, and I'll do so. Although, folks, you guys probably
and I'm not going to go the other way, Tim. I think when you look at this,
what is with the pop-ups? The idea that this tournament is this massive moneymaker for the NCAA, and it's so interesting to hear just how far these folks have come in how big of a loss last year was. You take the tournament out of the 2 biggest things that I think are the off-court stories are, number one, having the tournament back after last year, and the discrepancy that's being reported between the women's tournament and the men's tournament. And we got a question from the crowd, and I thought it was a really good question. What do you think about the NCAA treatment of the female players? What has been your thought? Look, you want to talk about the NCAA tournament the women's tournament is smaller because the revenues are smaller. That's capitalism. That's what marketing is. That's not. There's more to it than that. What was your reaction when you saw all the things being written about that this week?
Well, you just said it. There's more to it than that. I mean, obviously, we know that men's is going to bring in more money than the women's. That's just how it goes, right? But you see the women's game continuing to grow, and Kobe, he was a big advocate of the women's game, and Kyrie Irving. You see all these big time men's basketball players supporting the women's game. I think it's only right to have we're talking about a weight room area, right? It's only right to have the same weight room areas, the same weight room options,
right.
the same food.
The number one picture I saw was the weight room.
Yeah, exactly. So they deserve that just as much as the men do. And like you said, it's a different issue when we talk about the money. Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. But, these women, they put in the same hours. They have to do school work and balance and juggle everything with that. So they deserve the exact same thing that the men get as well. And they want to prepare, and they're doing the same thing they have to do to try to win the championship as well.
Can I ask you, and I'm putting you on the spot, and I said I wouldn't do this, and I take you because we're live. We've got 12,000 people watching this, so we've got a lot of people, and you're going to offend people if you have the wrong answer. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
I've done it before.
Did you find in your travails following college basketball, both as a student athlete, but also since then, because you're so active in the game still, do you find that there are people that are associated with college basketball that have prejudice involved, that they are prejudiced against women? I'm not asking you to name names, but did you notice that there are people who had less respect for the women's game than other people amongst people in the game, not fans, not social media knuckleheads? I'm talking about people in the game. Are you aware of actual bias?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. There's people within the circle, I guess, so to speak, that have bias towards men because, again, we go back to the money. Exactly. But it goes back to the money. I guess money makes the world go round. That's what they say, right? But again, I don't want to associate with those type of people. We're trying to progress, and obviously with everything going on, with racism and women and men and all that going on, I want to progress going forward, so we're talking about equality, and we're talking about having the same weight room. We're talking about having the same type of food. We're not talking about paying these girls $1 million. You know what I mean? We're just talking about simple things that will help them with practice, will help them with recovery. Can they get a good ice bag? Can they get one wrapped around their knee instead of having to hold it there for, 25 minutes? It's simple things. And, if people can't understand that and get that, I don't want to associate with those type, because they're never going to get the point anyway. You could, speak to them till your face is blue. They're not going to get it.
You bring up an interesting point. I thought the biggest example of it was last year during the NBA and WNBA bubbles. Remember they had the bubbles for the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And the NBA was in this like palatial Disney World resort, right? They're in this amazing place, and the women were staying in a separate bubble in Orlando, and they were staying and they didn't have washing machines. And it was just like, it was crazy. And a bunch of the WNBA players went on social media. And I remember I did a Twitch channel, Twitch show with some people in the WNBA bubble. And I remember hearing, and I didn't know anything about it. And see, that's why I'm saying, like, I wanted to bring this up, because I do think it's something that is definitely something that needs to be addressed and not ignored. Because I don't think it's our responsibility. I didn't get asked to talk about the women's tournament. I got asked to do a show about the men's tournament. And the men's tournament is a massive cash cow for the networks, for the schools, for everything. And I'm not supposed to sit there and say that it's apples to apples. But what I'm saying is the fairness should be there. And the treatment of the athletes should be there, even if the eyeballs aren't automatically going to be there.
And I think, we're the people who can make that progression go forward, right? Because we're going to keep talking about it. We don't just want to sweep it under the rug. I mean, I have 2 daughters, and they're young, so they don't really understand yet. But when they grow up and they come into a situation where, hey, Dad, this, they got this and we didn't get this, whatever it may be, I don't want to have to, deal with that situation. I want to nip it in the bud right now. So, when they get older, they can experience those things. I mean, we're talking about WNBA players. These are the best women's basketball players in the world. And they got to go out of their hotel and try to find a laundromat to go do their laundry in a bubble during the pandemic. You know what I mean? So I don't understand anybody's argument, where they're trying to say something against it. It's simple as night and day. You know what I mean? You have to figure out a way to where we can make it the same for men's and women's, as far as, it's not going to be, we're not talking about money, Seth. We're talking about lunches and dinner and weight rooms and recovery, stuff that we shouldn't even be talking about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have to nip it in the bud. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because again, it's people like us who keep talking about it, and we're going to move that forward.
No, there's no question. I have one team I want to circle, and then I'm reading the chat room, and I'm hearing some of the people. For example, Lucas says, I'm starting to regret taking Arkansas to the Elite Eight. I have Arkansas going to the Elite Eight as well. I have them beating Colgate. Come on, Colgate. Is it Donald?
They're going to beat Colgate.
Yeah. But I have Texas Tech beating Utah State. I didn't go all favorites, although I have a lot of ones in my Final Four. I didn't go all favorites. I picked a couple. For example, I picked VCU to beat Oregon. I took Drake. Drake beat Wichita State, right, last night?
I didn't see that. I was watching the Michigan State UCLA game.
Yeah, Drake beat them by 1.
Okay.
So I have Drake beating USC, and then
you're going against Jay Hart.
I know. Well, what I try to do is what I can't do is I don't just all of a sudden pick random teams, because then once they lose, your whole bracket's ruined.
Right?
Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. What I like to do is I like to pick randoms. If I don't see a school going very far, I try to give them an upset, because I like to sneak a couple of wins. That's, you know what I mean? Like that's just kind of my strategy. The other team I wanted to ask you about is Alabama. And I have, and I'm sorry if there's people in Alabama watching, but I do this thing for the Alabama Radio Network on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? I do these sports reports for the Alabama Radio Network. And when I say that if a football player, if the wide receiver, if Najee Harris ties his shoe, that literally is our lead story in the morning. Like it's such a football centric place. And Nick Saban, I don't want to pick on Nick Saban because I'm sure he's a fine fellow. Some of the dumb things he says about, it was our God-given right to play football and all this other stuff. I have trouble digesting it. I'm not comfortable with Alabama being good at basketball. I give them football. You have football. Take your goddamn football. Enjoy that. I have Alabama going all the way to the Final Four. I have Florida State upsetting Michigan.
Okay.
Partly because my ex-girlfriend goes to Michigan. I'm telling you, this is the scientific way my brain works. But I have Alabama beating Florida State to go to the thing. Tell me, how does Alabama recruit like that when they're not a basketball power? Why is Alabama this good right now?
Nate Oates. I mean, and I'll tell you a quick story about Nate Oates.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan. He was a high school coach at Romulus High School when I was growing up playing basketball in Michigan high school. So I had a relationship with Nate over the years, and he's just a fiery guy. He's going to find a way to get it done, and he has success at Buffalo. We've seen it with the Buffalo Syracuse games over the recent years, and now him going to Alabama, like he can recruit, he gets guys, and guys want to play for him. I would tell you this, Seth. When you're a college basketball player, you want to coach who you want to play for. You don't want to go to practice every day like, oh shit, I got to see this guy again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's the type of coach that they want to play for him, and you can tell when they're playing. These guys are athletic, they're long, they're lanky, they can handle the ball, they can make plays. Alabama's the team to watch out for, and I like Arkansas as well, but they could make some noise.
It's fine. But it's weird. It's weird to see Alabama good at basketball. It is. It's not what I'm comfortable with because it's so funny because when you look at the Wire, or if I read the Alabama newspaper, AL.com is like their main newspaper, and it's literally like there'll be articles where they just list postseason awards for the football team, and that's like the lead story.
Well, you remember Mo Williams though from Alabama? I guess that was the last success they had.
And Charles Barkley went to Auburn.
Yeah. We're going way back now.
No, I'm just saying, but like it's not unheard of that it's happened. It just doesn't.
Right.
It feels weird. It feels weird. What did you make of Duke's season and how awkward it was, the freshmen, and then the whole thing with Jim Boeheim saying that he shouldn't have bailed on his team, and I'm sorry. If the guy wants to protect his NBA rights, I mean, the guy's going to make millions of dollars. Shut up. Jim Boeheim, you've had him on your podcast, which I want to ask you about your podcast. But my God, the guy who we've all revered for so long and you played for, he has said some of the most outlandish things he has said in his 40 years as coach of the Syracuse Orange. He has said some of the wackiest things I've ever seen this year.
Well, you got to understand, first and foremost, him and Coach K are really good friends. So he was really trying to back up Coach K. And I agree, like Johnson, you do what you want to do. It's your career. It's your life going forward. If you and your family decide that, and that's the best decision for you. I don't care what, the coaches say or other, it doesn't matter. What you feel is good for you and your family, and you're able to make a lot of money and take care of your family for, hopefully the rest of their lives. And I say you go and do that. But I understand what Coach was saying. He didn't, and again, that stuff gets took out of context, right? He was backing up one of his very good friends, Coach K, and I understood what he was saying, but at the same time, I support that kid's decision. Go and make some money. You thinking about injured, getting hurt, whatever it might be. Go ahead and make you some money, man. It's you and your family's decision, and I 100% back that kid.
When is it time to talk about a Hall of Fame coach? And you can apply this to Boeheim, you can apply it to Krzyzewski. When it's time to say that he doesn't relate to kids anymore, because this is and this is part of the argument. Remember, we were just saying that the NCAA tournament is this unique animal, and it gets all these eyeballs on it and this amazing ratings, and nobody watches Duke's random game against Georgia Tech on a Tuesday night in February. Like, nobody watches that. So when does it become that the recruiting job is for the younger, and that Jim Boeheim doesn't impress somebody, a kid today going into his living room the way he did when you were playing, and that the same thing for Krzyzewski, the same team for some of these older Roy Williams types that have they just don't connect, because in other sports, for example, Buck Showalter's not managing a team anymore. You know what I mean? Jim Leland's not managing a team. Lou Pinella's not managing a team anymore. Why? Because 25-year-olds don't want to listen to these old men. What about that for college hoops?
And I love Jim Leland, by the way. Detroit Tigers, man, represent.
Oh, he used to scare the crap out of me. There were three managers that I was scared of: Tony La Russa, the late Don Baylor, and Jim Leland. And I used to have to go interview Jim Leland, and I was literally shaking. I would be so scared. And he was a nice guy. I just thought he was going to chew my head off.
So to your point about that, I think, when you reach a status where Coach Boeheim, Coach Krzyzewski, Roy Williams are, they're thinking and again, I don't want to say what they're thinking, but this is my perspective on it. I think they're thinking the kids have to adapt to them. Yeah, I've been doing this for 47 years. It's working. I'm in the Hall of Fame. This is, I have national championships, Final Four, Sweet 16. So you have to adapt to me. And we all know the kids are different now. They want to be a little bit more coddled. They want to have a little bit more attention. And a lot of these old school coaches are not trying to do that. They're in practice. They're letting you know what you got to do, and then they're gone. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And I think nowadays, especially with the recruitment, it's more assistant coaches. It's more the assistants getting out there on the road and doing it. I still think, Coach Boeheim and Krzyzewski and they go on the road and show their faces, but not as much as when they were younger. It's just different. So I think when kids are choosing a school, they got to make the point to go and talk to the head coach and really kind of try to feel that and see how they, how they vibe with them, I guess, so to speak. But that's how I always saw it. This guy's been doing this for 46 years. He's a Hall of Famer. You're coming in adapting to what he's doing in his system. And, sometimes it might not work. Sometimes it may. But, I think Coach Boeheim has done a better job than a lot of these other coaches adapting, because we over the recent years, we didn't have the greatest talent we used to have coming into Syracuse, but he's found a way to win games when it matters and get these guys gelling at the right time. And I think this year is another case of that. But these guys are Hall of Fame coaches, and they have they're certified, they're stamped.
I'm going to check the scores in 1 second, but Eric Devendorf, you're the man. You are the man. First, let's talk about, before we get into your charity among charities, which you have started this amazing thing. Let's do the podcast first. Tell me about the podcast. You have some heavy hitter guests on it. It's very, very Q's heavy. You are very good. Your interviews are more in depth than I not that I didn't think you could do, but you have friendships, and it's very hard to walk a line where you're interviewing a friend and how tough you want to be with them. And that's the fine line that you walk on your show. Tell the folks here, tell all the folks watching about your podcast.
Yeah, so it's the Scorers Table podcast. It's on the Field of 68 network. I think for me is I kept doing more and more interviews. I started to get more comfortable. But like you said, Seth, they're all my friends. Right. So I have some questions wrote down what I want to ask. I ask one of them, and then it just goes off into a whole different thing. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. It's just us kind of shooting the shit a little bit. We're just kind of reminiscing about off the court, on the court things, and then I have some questions about Coach Boeheim, and give me one of your funniest Coach Boeheim moments, and then we kind of take it from there. But I really been enjoying it, man. It's a different lane for me. And like I said, I've got more comfortable as I continue to do it. And, I'm just going to try to get as many Q's guys on as I can. We just had Ryan Blackwell last week.
Great. Ryan Blackwell. Yeah. If you didn't call me back, he was coming on today. No. Yeah.
Black's the man. And we've been great friends for several years. And it was another good podcast. So who knows who we'll have on next.
That's great. And then you had this idea to help small businesses that were struggling in the pandemic. I don't want to put words in your mouth, because last time I had you on to talk about it, I butchered it. Explain exactly what is it that you're doing, and how you started a GoFundMe? Is that correct? A GoFundMe to raise money for local businesses, and then you handled the distribution to the local businesses that needed it the most?
Yeah. So, the first one we did was inspired by Barstool. They were doing amazing things throughout the country. So I wanted to do it locally here in Syracuse, set up a GoFundMe, just put it out on all social media platforms. Within 2 days, we had $25,000 raised.
It was crazy. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to put you down. You don't have that many followers. It was like if every one of your followers chipped in $1, you didn't have $25,000.
Exactly. So that just goes to show you, like, Cuse is everywhere. It's not just the community, but it's all around the country. I mean, I had people, former Syracuse alum reaching out from, CNN or, different basketball programs, whatever it is, just people all over the country. And we ended up raising, I think, $80,000, and we handed it out.
Just in case people got the CNN's the TV network. There's also basketball things. CNN is not a basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay, continue.
So that's my point, though. Like, it was Cuse alum from, and you know how the Cuse is in the media. I mean, we're everywhere in the media. So we were able to kind of get that out, and we actually started a second round called CNY Cares, where we did a 501c3. And we currently,
you got you got legit, huh? That's
legit. So after the $80,000 raise, we have a goal of, $2 to $5 million right now, which is it's a lofty goal, but we're just trying to help out as much as we can. If we raise 100,000, 200,000, we're able to give that out to some businesses, and I know all that helps.
I'm so proud of you, man. That's such a great job, and it really is so cool. You did it all. There are people who have been impacted by the pandemic. What I just noticed since I knew you before the pandemic, but knowing you during this, you have taken every hardship and turned it into a strength. You've done inspiring coaching videos on social media, all because you wanted to. You've set this up all because you saw something on Barstool and you wanted to do it. You started a podcast. You're doing a lot of things, and there are forward-thinking people, and I applaud your efforts.
I appreciate it, Seth. I mean, I'm just trying to help out as much as I can, and I know Syracuse has given me a platform to where I could, reach a lot of people, and I want to use that in the right way.
It's great, and congratulations. Have a great time tonight. Enjoy the trip, and it's great to catch up with you, buddy.
Seth, you text me right when you see me, all right? And I'll
I'm
make
gonna
sure
screen grab it. What are you talking about? Are you kidding? When you're watching Syracuse play San Diego State later, just look for this joker in the crowd. I think it's going to be so funny. It's so random. So very cool. Thanks for doing this, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Seth. See you, man.
All right, Eric Devendorf right here on Twitch Sports, and wow, my head just got very big. Here, we can make that a little smaller. There we go. You know what I can do? I can make this a little bigger too, because some people in the chat room have said they couldn't see my lame picks. So I went with 3 ones. I have Illinois, Baylor, and Gonzaga. I couldn't find one reason not to pick any of them. The one I didn't take is Michigan. I didn't think Michigan could do it. I have Michigan losing to Florida State. All right, there are games going on right now. Let's take a look at the scoreboard from today. Second half, 17 minutes to go, second half. Close one between Virginia Tech and Florida. 37-34 is your score there. The Hokies are on top. And I took Virginia Tech. So I'm winning that. That's 39-34 now. Colgate and Arkansas, there's an upset in the making there. 2 minutes to go, first half. And the Red Raiders are leading the Razorbacks 33-26, but that's really early in that one. Also, right now in the first half, Illinois and Drexel, it's just getting started. The top seed against Drexel, 13-8. Illinois leads there. Coming up in just a little bit, it's Utah State and Texas Tech. So those are the games that are going on while I'm live. Then at 3 o'clock, Oral Roberts takes on Ohio State, and it goes from there. And we've got more special guests coming through. I want to thank all the folks who have watched who have followed while Eric was talking. Pantabaya, Tommy in its daughter, That just sounds dirty, and I don't think you meant it to be. But I'm gonna be forward thinking on that one. Who else? There were some other ones. Mr. Sour Cream, I love that name. Buggy, thank you. 2800 yours. Thank you all for the follows. Again, you can follow IK Loss. I understand. I know Loss too. And again, thank you again for the follows. On this channel, we do these live talk shows. We do a lot of these Twitch sports shows. Also, I play NHL 21. And I'll play NHL 21, and I'll do it late at night. I'll do it early in the morning, and I'll do that on this channel as well. So if you're a video gamer, which if you're on Twitch, you played a video game before, at some point, Kangaroo, thank you for the follow. We can do that. Did I get any other questions? I want to thank whoever asked the question, and it was a while ago, about women and the NCAA tournament and the women's bracket versus the men's bracket and how wild that has been. Whoop, we hit the wrong button. Let's hit the right button. There you go. I do have hair. Oh, I have a neck. Oh, look at that. Snowy Snowman 55. Thank you for the follow. So that's my bracket. I'm going to make it smaller when we get our next person on the air. I don't have any other basketball players. I just have some broadcasting folks to come hang out with me and shoot the bull. We don't have to just limit it to just March Madness, but like I said, we're watching these games as well. One of the things that I wrote a column about, and I can put the column in the chat room. I wrote a column this morning. Well, this morning. Who am I joking? I wrote the column yesterday. It got posted this morning. Kangaroo, I have BYU winning the whole thing only because I go there. Well, that's fine. That's your reason. And that's totally fine. I don't mind people when they root for their alma mater, or what I love is when you have a reason to be a fan. Mr. Voigt, how about Alabama? You didn't hear us just talking about Alabama? It is so weird to see Alabama good at basketball. It's odd. It's not bad. It's odd. It doesn't feel right. It feels weird. But, hey, listen. I have Alabama going all the way to the Final Four. In my bracket, I put Alabama there. Yeah. It's just weird because they're so good at football, and everything down there is football. And Rye says, I got Kansas winning it all. Kansas. Where did I had Kansas losing. I had Kansas losing to Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Yeah, Gonzaga just seems like they're on a different level. They haven't lost all season long. The one thing about it, in basketball people that I trust, the Rothsteins and the Jay Billises of the world, they all say Baylor is as talented as anybody in the country. Baylor has not played as many games because of COVID. And now, by the time you get to the Final Four, if they get through their bracket, let's say they beat Hartford. I have them beating Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin over North Carolina. Baylor wins. Then I have Villanova beating Purdue. So Baylor-Villanova, let's say Baylor wins that game. Now you're talking about they're on a run. And by the time they get to the Elite Eight, my instinct is they shed whatever their inequity because they didn't play as many regular season games. They move past that. They get past that. And I think there's something there. Again, it's teams react to these things very, very differently. But I think you have to just recognize that what we think about a team now on March 19th, 3 weeks from now, they're going to be completely different. And you have that rhythm back. I thought the committee had a very hard time because, the quad 1 and the quad 2 victories, everybody had different victories, but you can't penalize a team for a lack of a quad 1 victory if there were 3-4 quad 1 games that they didn't play because of COVID. that you can't do. And so I thought the bracket, again, the committee has this impossible job, and everyone's upset, and all these people get snubbed, and blah, 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 and that's all well and good. But I thought just the selection process. Do you remember last year there was this suggestion that the committee make a bracket even though they couldn't play it? And it was so sad, but it was one of those things where they kept suggesting that maybe they would do that. And it didn't work because you can't do that. The tournament not happening last year was a massive loss. And it feels like it was a loss. And I don't think people realize it was. I think people quickly, remember, March 2020, things were so up in the air. And everything was happening, and it was getting overshadowed, because immediately the NBA and immediately the NHL, and then it was baseball, and then people were talking about all these things. My lasting image of the 2020 season is Jay Billis screaming at the top of his lungs in the in the Greensboro Arena, whatever that arena is called, and he's in that arena. And I think it was Florida State is warming up in the background. And he's going, how can they be on? There's a pandemic. This is unknown. This is crazy that you can't do this. And I get the sense that people were just up in arms. And then once the dust settled, I think the talk was, when do sports come back? How do sports come back? And then it was the NHL, and then it was the NBA, and then the WNBA, and then MLS, and all these different angles came in and recognized that. And my aspect, and at least my perspective on it, was it just kind of got shoveled under the rug. And it wasn't until, and I'll be the first person to look you in the eye and say, college basketball regular season has not meant something in a decade. And yes, it means something in local regions. That's how it goes. Local regions tops. But now you're in this other position where it happens to be the big dance. The NCAA tournament takes on another persona, and that's where this all went. It's interesting to see, and like I said, I hope the ratings are great. I hope that they are. Whoa, that was not right. I hope that they are. I hope it's as entertaining. And I know last night was a really, really entertaining night. The only difference was, like I said, I was watching Justice League, and I wasn't into it. I wasn't getting into the first 4 games, the early games. Stay frosty, NCT. Thank you for the follow. My buddy Scott Seidenberg has his own Twitch channel, and he is going to join us here now on the show. We're going to make this a little bigger. Look at that handsome devil. Look at that handsome guy. And he's got the fancy background and everything. What's going on, brother?
Hello.
Got your bracket?
Brackets.
Okay. Mine's on the screen here. Tell me your final 4.
Gonzaga.
Okay.
All right. Shocker, right?
Going on
Picked
a
the number
limb.
1 overall team in the tournament. Yep. Gonzaga. Alabama.
Me too.
Houston.
No.
And Ohio State.
Look at you.
With a final of Houston against Gonzaga and a championship of the Zags. Undefeated champions. First time that's happened in a lot of years.
Yeah. My bracket is on the screen. I made it bigger before, but now Scott's face it needs to be of a certain size. That's the contingency of where he's going to be. And the only way he comes on is if he says, listen, I need a big screen. So
I want priority billing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. We were just talking about how cool it is to have the tournament back. And, last week I did this column about how there's nothing in sports that is that big with its lead in the regular season that small. And college basketball as a sport, I don't think is thriving. This tournament is thriving. And not having it last year, I don't think people recognize. I was just saying before you came on, just the idea of when everything was shutting down, the talk was, how can the NBA come back and how can the NHL come back and what can baseball do and what can this happen and what's football going to do? And everybody didn't recognize that the NCAA tournament was a massive, massive loss.
Yeah,
and I think it was a huge loss from a sports fan's perspective.
Of course.
That gets overshadowed because especially these first 2 days are the most fun. They're just random games all the time.
Does it bother you? Because it bothers me. And I know it shouldn't because it's so dumb, but it bothers me that the schedule has changed this year. The first round always began on Thursday.
Well, that's because of COVID. Yeah,
I understand, but it's always Thursday, Friday is the first round, Saturday, Sunday is the second round.
Right.
And I know that it's now Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's just weird to me. Like I woke up yesterday and I know we had the first four, but the first four is usually on Tuesday, right? Not yesterday. We're supposed to have that on the Tuesday and then the first round on the Thursday. The schedule just doesn't seem normal to me. I'm very happy though today and tomorrow are two of the greatest days in sports. The Thursday and Friday of the NCAA tournament are the two greatest days in sports, in my opinion. I remember being in high school watching the games and remember when CBS used to have the boss button? On CBS.com.
Well, yeah, that was MLB.com's idea. They stole that.
When streaming first started,
totally,
and you were able to go watch the tournament online, they had the boss button that you would click it, and like a spreadsheet would pop up.
Right.
So if you were at work watching the games, it would look like you had a spreadsheet on your computer or like an Outlook email. It was genius. The boss button every year was great, but the fact that it's not Thursday, Friday, it's not a big deal. It bothers me a little bit, but I'm just happy that we have this tournament because it truly is one of the greatest events in the sports calendar year.
Yeah, it's unique and it's the most gambled on event in online gambling. It beats the Super Bowl, and that's a crazy idea, and it's crazy to think about. And I don't care that it's not in the different arenas all over the country. I don't care. I don't think it matters. They homogenize all the courts anyway, so you never know where these games.
Yeah, and you don't have to call. I mean, I know they stuck to like tradition by calling it the East, the West, the South, and the Midwest. You didn't need to do that because it's all in Indiana.
It's all in one place, and you could have the late games are actually late. That's the other thing that people don't realize because there would always be a 9:30 game, but now if
like
you're playing
Anaheim.
at 9:30, you're really playing at 9:30.
That's correct. Because you normally have the West region being played out in California somewhere with the late tip-offs.
Or Washington or Texas or Arizona, right?
You know what I think is going to be cool? They have a 2-court setup at Lucas Oil.
Yeah,
where the Colts play, and so they're never going to be 2 games at the same time. But they have a 2-court setup because it's easier to get the back-to-back games. So one team, you could have like a team warming up on the other court, getting ready for their game while the other game's going on. I want the visual. I want the overhead view of what that looks like with 2 courts inside the football stadium. It kind of would feel like the Carrier Dome, right? Where like you can have a basketball court, a track and field track, a football field, a baseball stadium, and everything all under one roof.
For those of you who don't know, the Carrier Dome, the court only takes up about 40% of the football field. And they put stands around it so that the other half of the football field you don't see. Mm-hmm. But it's just a field, and anybody can walk on it, and that's where a lot of people. How many people have proposed to their girlfriends on the 50-yard field?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
It's funny because it has all the pomp and circumstance. One thing I haven't seen, because like I said, I didn't watch. I told people I watched Justice League yesterday, and I didn't see the first 4 games. What about this idea about crowd? Because college basketball to me was the one sport where I appreciated that they didn't have fake crowd sound, but you missed the crowd so stinking much.
Yes.
There would be like a defensive stop, right? Like a defensive stop. Like they're up by 3 with 2 minutes to go, and somebody drives the lane and he's rejected, and there's no reaction by anybody.
Could you imagine, imagine the Villanova national championship game-winning buzzer beater
Right.
from a couple of years ago? Imagine it now.
Right. Exactly.
It would just be so awkward. Like you'd have the teams cheering and like some of the, a couple of like sometimes they can have, 5,000 fans do sound loud, but it's nothing like what the normal national championship would be inside of a domed football stadium that houses
you'd have 80,000
60,000 to 80,000 people, which is what my suggestion was. And I know that it's not going to be that way because obviously they're doing it at Lucas Oil for the national championship. But the fact that it is a restricted fan base this year, one of the biggest issues with the Final Four over the past several years, over a decade now, has been the fact that it's moved from basketball arenas to football stadiums. And that creates bad sight lines for the game, and it takes a while for these kids to get used to shooting on the rims while looking at the massive backgrounds, and it's not a traditional gym or a basketball arena.
Totally.
There was an opportunity this year with limited fans to actually have the games in which they are for the most part, except for the Lucas Oil
arenas,
ones,
in smaller places.
basketball arenas. Like the Final Four could have been at Bankers Life instead of Lucas Oil, but obviously that doesn't work out with
because you can't
Pacer schedule and things like that. Yeah,
right. But they figure the bigger stadium, you could put more people in there because
of course, and you space them out. And all that stuff.
You space them out and you do it safely. Look, this year is an anomaly. You're right, and I have noticed, but this goes back to my earlier point about college basketball. The revenue's not there for college basketball anymore. I would venture a guess that the packages, the big Big Ten package, the Pac-12 package, the ACC, the SEC package for basketball, not football, but for basketball, I believe will go down, because what's going to happen is the only thing that networks are going to want to spend money on is this tournament. This tournament is the only thing. And again, that was exacerbated last year because you played a regular season. You just didn't get the spoils of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, look, we know that the regional networks are failing, or the conference networks are failing. The Pac-12 network's probably going to go away. The SEC is basically just absorbed by ESPN. And so what you're really going to have is you're going to have ESPN running everything, where you buy ESPN Plus, and now you have access to the Big 12, and now you have access to the SEC, things like that. So there's no more conferences, packages individually. It's all going to be under the ESPN Plus umbrella. I think they actually do have something now on ESPN where you can actually, so if you pay for ESPN Plus, you could pay an additional subscription to get like the ACC on ESPN. And then you get access to all of the ACC games that are on the ESPN 3 or whatever they call now, the ESPN Plus thing. So that's where, I think that's where it's going.
The best thing that ESPN Plus has done is made it available. If you have the bundle, it made all the ESPN Plus stuff available on Hulu.
Yes.
Because no offense to the folks at ESPN. Well, who am I kidding? We used to work there. The ESPN app is brutal.
I only use it on my television, and only when it's very rare. Like, I don't even know why I pay for it. It's very rare because I do have Hulu Plus Live. So you do get a lot of the games, like the SEC Network and all that stuff. You get a lot of these games. And the Big Ten Network and whatnot. So I'm watching all these college football games anyway. It's very rare. Like if I have money on a random college game that's not on one of these channels, I'll have to go to ESPN Plus to watch it. Right. But other than that, it's basically like having a subscription to The Athletic, because I'm reading articles that are only available to subscribers. So I'm reading,
but it's to me, and you and I talk cord cutting all the time off the air. So I love this conversation. To me, it's cheaper to do the Disney bundle with Hulu Live than it is to just do Disney Plus separate from Hulu. So getting ESPN Plus is an accident. You get ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
My argument that I wrote about this morning is when ESPN announced their NHL deal, they talked about how
that I can't wait for because
it has
I buy it.
Hold on.
Yes,
It has out of market only. Now, you live in the New York area. You should be able to access the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils. I don't need to have ESPN Plus to watch Nashville play Colorado.
but so I get NHL TV, and the things I get every year. I get NHL TV every year. I get MLB TV every year because those are two sports that I do watch more than just the regional teams. You know, I will watch Vegas against, somebody or whatever. Like I will watch, especially baseball with fantasy baseball and all that stuff. Like I watch every game. Baseball is my number one, day one. So I watch any game. That's why getting the baseball package is a must for me every year.
We need to turn this into a podcast. This is such an interesting conversation.
Sure. But with the ESPN deal now, there's no need for NHL TV,
right?
Because you're going to get it all on ESPN. Right. So, and I understand the whole, not being able to watch my teams. Trust me, I've done every single workaround there is to do. I got a VPN, I got a VPN router, and MSG thinks I live in California. So there's a lot of, I do whatever it takes to be able to watch my teams. Or you can get somebody's cable subscription.
We'll put his IP address in the chat room. Don't worry, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Or we can get a friend or a family's login, and then you can log in on your TV with one of the apps. Yeah.
Well, I trade. My whole thing is I think if you're just stealing someone's password, that's stealing. If you're trading passwords, then it's not stealing. That's how I rationalize it.
You give me your Cablevision login, I'll give you my Netflix, and this way I can watch the Yankees on the Yes app, and you could watch, whatever.
No, and I've done that. I make no secret about that. But let's just you brought up baseball. Let's use baseball as the example. I think it's bonkers that a 20-year-old. There are 10,000 people watching this right now. How many of those people have cable? Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. If you're watching sports online, we saw in the chat room, how do you stream the NCAA tournament? First of all, CBS, Paramount Plus has all the games, right?
CBS app, right?
And the CBS app, the regular CBS app, you can watch all the games. You have to have some kind of a subscription to something. The question is, and that means if you have a Hulu or a YouTube or a Sling password, that'll work. That would work. It's not you have to have Paramount Plus to watch the NCAA tournament. But if you're a 21-year-old kid in Baltimore, Maryland, if you're going to spend $50, let's say you say, I will spend $50 on apps, it is cheaper for you to buy the Seattle Mariners games on MLB.tv than it would be to get a cable subscription to watch the Orioles. That's ridiculous.
It's one of the things that it really doesn't make sense, because if you're going to pay for streaming, if I'm going to pay for MLB TV, there should be no blackout restrictions.
There should be none.
Because there shouldn't be any competition with the regional network, because that's the feed I'm getting. I'm getting that feed. You want to say, I will say the compromise.
But the Yes Network doesn't get the ratings. The problem is,
I understand that, but
they want the ratings because they paid for the rights.
But they should.
Root Sports paid for the rights. They want it.
I understand that. This is the compromise that you need to do, okay? And if you're listening, TVXX out there, this is what you have to do, is you allow in-market streaming, but only the in-market feed. If the Yankees are playing the Mariners and I go to MLB.tv, I should not be able to click on Root Sports. I should not be able to get the home feed of the Mariners. I should have to watch the Yes Network feed, and then the Yes Network gets credit for that feed.
But their commercials, and you've seen this a lot, the problem is the advertisers don't pay for streaming. So what they're doing is they're saying, Budweiser bought a deal. We need more eyeballs on the Yes Network via linear television. They don't want you on MLB.tv. They want you on the Yes Network. Yes. And that's the problem. And look, I understand. What I would suggest, my only suggestion is compromise and do a rev share so that the Yes Network gets a piece of your streaming, but make the thing available. And that, to me, this whole idea, because you see the commercials, they're about as dumb as 5G.
Yeah.
I'm telling 10,000 people right now, if you think you need 5G, 5G is nothing. Your phone will not go any faster. Your call will not be any clearer. Don't bother with 5G. It's pointless. But yet every commercial and their grandmother is, and I'm going to, because Google hears all my ads, so I'm going to see 5G commercials all night tonight during college basketball. The point of this whole conversation is if you are able to sign up for apps and you don't want to have a cable service, this loyalty to the old way of doing things is literally going to be its death knell. And it's not going to be its death knell in terms of streaming. What it's going to do is it's going to convince the people who are watching this, they are going to want to not follow your team anymore. In the NBA, let's use the NBA as the model. Giannis is a very popular player, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo is a very, very popular player. If I am 15 years old and I live in Philadelphia, well, Philadelphia is a really good team. Let's use Charlotte. Let's use Charlotte, right? Charlotte, I don't want to have a cable package to watch the Hornets package. I want to buy the games that the Bucks are playing because it's easier. And that's what shouldn't be. And it's amazing how what's happened. I just can't understand how it's that hard. And my biggest complaint, and I'll say it right now because I wrote about it this morning, is the goddamn MSG app. Now, first of all, MSG is owned by James Dolan, whose best buddy was Harvey Weinstein, who bans WFAN from covering Knicks games because they called him out on it. The fact of the matter is that they refuse to make an Apple TV app. Crumble Pocket, MSG sucks.
Or Roku. I can't get it on my Roku.
You can't get it. You can't get it on a Roku. What you
Only
can
on my
do
laptop.
is download it to your phone.
Yeah, and then mirror it. Yep.
And then
you can mirror
AirPlay it. Last night I was watching Devils Penguins, and I swear I got 3 phone calls and 5 tweets, and every time it knocked it off the TV.
Yeah. You know what doesn't make sense though? Why does it work with the NFL, but it doesn't work with the other sports?
Well, okay, so the NFL, it's funny that you brought up the NFL. The NFL, the rumor is that the Sunday ticket package is going to go to ESPN Plus. Do you realize that if you don't have to pay extra for ESPN Plus, do you know how many people are going to buy that thing?
Yeah, of course. It's a great value. Even if they raise it by $5 a month, it's an incredible value.
Great, $20 a month, people are going to buy it.
But why does it work with the NFL? If you had Sunday ticket, you were always able to watch the Jets and the Giants in New York. You were always available to watch any game you want. There was no blackout restrictions. The only time there was a blackout restriction was when a game wasn't sold out, right? That was the only blackout. If the game wasn't sold out, which obviously in a COVID year doesn't mean anything, but when the game wasn't sold out, it was blacked out on television.
And that's such the 80s way of thinking of that.
Yeah.
But yes.
But why does it work in the NFL with their streaming and with their, Sunday ticket or whatever, but doesn't work with other sports?
Jim, right? Jim is happy being the old guy in the chat room. He says, MSG has apps. I get MSG on my cable subscription. You just want to be that guy.
I get MSG in my Chinese food. I don't need it.
I like when Kramer says, "Can you get extra MSG?" Like anybody knows what that stuff is. This is a fascinating conversation. By the way, before we continue, 7 minutes to go. Virginia Tech holding on, leads Florida 52-49. Second half now, Arkansas leads Colgate 38-36.
Arkansas 17-0 run to end the first half. What a run. What a run. Everyone was saying Colgate, bracket buster this, bracket buster that. 17-0 run for Arkansas to end the first half. They actually took a lead into the half. What's great about, people have to understand about these mid-majors, like especially the Ivies and other conferences, they hang around.
Oh, they always do. Yeah.
But eventually talent overpowers. Talent
Cream
wins
rises to the
out.
top, right?
And then at the end of the game, they wind up
Totally.
losing and they wind up not covering the spread. But, they always hang around early, and then people are always like, oh, we're going to have an upset. And it's very rare that it actually happens.
Totally. What's the other game? Halftime, Illinois leads Drexel 39-21, and 11 minutes to go. Utah State early 10-9 over Texas Tech. Those are the games while we're on. That's as far as that goes. Oral Roberts takes on Ohio State at 3, but someone else will be on Twitch Sports.
Can I ask you a question? What are you doing? What are you doing during the Syracuse San Diego State game?
This is gonna hurt me. Saturday mornings I'm on WBZ in Boston, and I get up at 4 in the goddamn morning. So I'll get the first half in. And you know what? I say that now, but I'm lying, because if we're winning, I will stay up and watch the game. If we're getting blown out, I'll shut that off really.
And you're going to go to sleep. So it's 9:40 tip-off.
9:40 tip. It's the worst possible time for Friday night.
Even if it's on time, you know how some of these things, they don't even start on time. So that could be a 10:20
it's
tip-off.
brutal. It's brutal. No, it's gonna crush me. But you know my rule. I can't believe I'm telling these folks this rule. When Syracuse gets eliminated, I stop watching. I stop altogether, because I'll literally go like, the tournament's still going on. Just stay up late and sneak a nap on Saturday afternoon. Yes, that's what I'll wind up doing. Syracuse plays San Diego State at like 9:40. And, it's so funny. They spent weeks and weeks and weeks on the bubble. The bubble. And, I made the comment earlier, the committee had a much harder time this year, because you can't evaluate a team based on number of quad 1 and quad 2 wins, when a lot of these teams, and we're talking about at least 25 of these teams, had quad 1 and quad 2 games canceled because of COVID. And so you can't assume that a team would have won that game or would have lost, even in the case of Baylor.
It's interesting, because they do have like 4 teams that are on the waiting list in case a team has to back out due to COVID. Like we could find out later tonight that a team tomorrow can't play. And then what happens to your bracket then?
See, I don't think we're doing that. I don't think we're.
No one's getting replaced.
I don't think
no one's getting replaced.
I don't think at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, because don't forget, the teams have been here for 4 days already.
Yeah.
I'd like to think these players are literally just going to the gym and to the hotel.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the NBA did the bubble perfectly. The deadline has passed for replacements. No. But Jim, what Scott is saying is, what happens if a team can't play? That other team is going to advance. There's no more replacement teams. Like that deadline has passed. The idea of what happens if you have a team advance to and then make a run and they didn't win 6 games. That's going to compromise the whole thing.
Asterisk champion.
Omega, my bracket, I put my bracket in my Discord, and I'll make it bigger when Scotty bids us adieu. I put the link to my my Discord in this chat. So just scroll up on the chat and you should see it. And if not, I can repost the link.
Who's your Cinderella? Who's your lowest seed that you have going to the furthest? Like who's going to the Sweet 16 for you as the lowest seed?
Oh, that I have. That I have West Virginia. No, that's a 3.
Yeah.
Well, I have Alabama going to the Final Four, as do you.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Eric Devendorf early, I feel so weird thinking of Alabama as good, because Alabama, I think football.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I'm telling you, I do these things for the Alabama Radio Network on Mondays and Tuesdays, and it's one of the funniest experiences of my life. Najee Harris gets new shoes, and that's the lead story. And it's not and what I want to be clear is, it's not Alabama is small. It's not a small market. That's not what the argument is. The argument is Alabama football is so much higher than everything else, including Alabama basketball,
Yeah, of course.
that it literally is so it's so funny. If you ever if you and I say this out of love, go to al.com and check out the Alabama newspaper. The Alabama, whatever the newspaper is called, I just know it as al.com. They will have their front page story will be a bunch of postseason football awards.
Yeah, it's something, I don't know, it's like the Birmingham Register or what, I don't know what, it's something like that. But I have my lowest seed going to the Sweet 16 is Georgetown. I have Georgetown going to the Sweet 16. And actually beyond. And, you know, it's that typical Big East bias. You know, we've seen teams run through the Big East tournament and then have this darling run in the NCAA tournament, a la UConn several years ago. I liked what I saw out of Georgetown. Patrick Ewing's got that team playing well.
Florida State in the second round.
I would say I have them upsetting Florida State.
Right.
So
and then I have Florida State upsetting Michigan.
And I have Georgetown upsetting Michigan.
Yeah, and then I have Alabama beating Florida State.
Yep.
What did you make of the Patrick Ewing debacle at Madison Square Garden where the security folks...
Isn't my jersey up in the rafters?
I mean,
I know it's nice to say, like, if you work at MSG, you have to know, like, who Patrick Ewing is. But some of these people that are working in MSG, like, they could be, like, in their 20s. And, like, maybe they don't know what Patrick Ewing looks like now. You know? Like, maybe they have no idea.
Like, I guess the question is, do you give those security guys a pass? I heard they were of mixed race, so it's not a racism thing.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, maybe the guy, you know, maybe it's somebody that's not a New Yorker. Maybe he's, you know, somebody who's really maybe not even, you know, from the area or from this country or whatever. Like, we have to assume that just because you work inside of a building doing security, you have to know who their star player was.
I don't know. It's Patrick Ewing. I mean, Patrick Ewing can walk anywhere in that building.
If I was Patrick Ewing, though, and first of all,
he
if
had
you're
a good time with it. He handled it very well.
But if you are a security guard, and even if you have no idea who Patrick Ewing is, a 7-foot guy walks up to you. Okay. Yeah. God, I'm sorry. This isn't like stereotyping, but if a 7-foot dude walked up to me, I got to assume he's a former NBA player.
Well, that's right. I mean, some guy walks up to you and he's 7 feet tall. You'd be like, you gotta. Hey, I'll take the old Darryl Hamilton line. Hey, man, are you somebody?
Yeah, exactly. Are you some, like, you? I don't know who you are, but you gotta be somebody. You know? He's like 6'11". Like, what do you like? I'm not, you know, kidding me? I'm 5'9". If a 6'11" guy was standing in front of me, I'm like, you're somebody, right? Like, you're like, who are you?
So the story goes, the late great Darryl Hamilton played 13 years in Major League Baseball, and what we used to do is we used to go down to spring training. He and I, because we did a radio show together, and we would go to spring training. And one year, the first day, which was traditionally the Thursday, we went on we went to the original Hooters
in Clearwater,
Florida. We did a Philly spring training, and we went to the original Hooters from like 3:30 in the afternoon straight, like through the night, to watch all these college basketball games. And there were these two obnoxious Philly fans, and they kept talking about this guy stinks, and this guy stinks, this guy stinks, and you couldn't not hear them. Like, they were right next to us. And Darryl, in his playing career, his career lasted 13 years. Not to say he shouldn't have retired after the 2001 season, but he had a problem with Bobby Valentine. And Bobby Valentine, you know, screwed with him, and it's a whole to-do. It's not worth telling here. But all of a sudden, they started talking about other people's other teams' players and managers. And one of the Philly guys, we're just sitting at our table, just watching the games. And all of a sudden, some guy says, and that Bobby Valentine, he's such a tool. And Darryl had to say something. And he turns around and he goes, now that I'll agree with. And Darryl had his 2000 New York Mets championship ring.
The National League
you get
championship.
a smaller ring when you win the pennant. You don't
Yeah.
win the World Series, you get a ring. And his ring had a Mets logo in diamonds, and he used to wear it all the time. And they see his ring, and this one obnoxious guy who we had heard yelling for 3 hours just goes, "Hey, dude, are you somebody?" And Daryl just looked at him straight and looked him right in the eye, and he just went, "Hey, man, we're all somebody."
We're all somebody. It's such a great line. It's such a great line.
and I love that story, and I think about, and that's what I think about when I think of college basketball, because if I remember correctly, that year, and we're talking, this is 2005, Syracuse was playing in the afternoon. So like, it was my school was playing. He was a big LSU fan, and because he's from Baton Rouge, but I was a big, I'm a Syracuse alum, and you got to support the team, and the idea that if my school was playing, if his school was playing, we would probably go and watch it, because that's what baseball really does this weekend. Like, first of all, there is a bracket pool in every clubhouse in Major League Baseball.
100%.
And they have the games on, and you can go up to a Major League Baseball player 2 minutes after a spring training game ends, and literally they have no idea who won. Like, they don't know anything. There is no competitiveness whatsoever. It is literally just going through motions, and it's really just to get pitchers innings. That's the only point of this. These players cannot wait to check out. And when something as compelling as the NCAA tournament is going on, that is literally all these players can think about. And you could tell any team right now, I don't care what team you are, that's all you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm. It's great. Guy will get one at bat and then leave, and his day is done, and he's going to watch the rest of the games.
And I remember thinking, there was one time where we did a dry run on our post-game show. And we had to do a dry run. I did the Mariners post-game, and we did a dry run. I don't even think it was on the radio. I think we just did it just to practice for the season.
Yeah.
And I remember we came in, and we had a player come on like after the game. And as we're getting the headset on, like ready to interview him, he goes, literally, he says, "Did we win today?" I'm just like, wait, you don't know that? Do you know anything about this game? Like, is there anything I can ask you that you can apply to this interview? Like, there's literally nothing.
Yes, I got my running in before the 7th inning.
That's all I took. That's all I did. There have been, in this pandemic world, there has been a decrease in ratings for every major sporting event. Do you think the NCAA tournament is immune to that?
I think the ratings will be higher for this NCAA tournament.
You do, huh?
Absolutely. Because of legalized sports betting everywhere, there will be more eyeballs on this tournament than ever before.
You think so? I hope you're right. I totally hope you're right.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Florida leads Virginia Tech 56-53, 3 minutes to go in that one. I have Virginia Tech there. Colgate leading Arkansas 49-44, 13 minutes to go. That's way too much time. Illinois leads Drexel 39-21. That's at the half. And Texas Tech and Utah State are 12-12. They have 7 minutes to go first half in that one. Scott, how can people find you? They've been staring at your banner, so I think they know.
I am all across
channel, man.
I am all across social media at Scott's. It's very backwards here. At Scott's on Air, all across social media, on Twitch by twitch.tv/Scott's on Air, and on Twitter, same way. At Scott's on Air on Twitter. So you can follow me there. All my podcasts, Twitch streams, and appearances are all posted there. Some gambling advice as well. If you want to put some money down on some of these games, give me a follow at Scott's on Air.
I think it's cool that this tournament is literally the highest gambled event in sports gambling in the United States. Like by by leaps and bounds. It's not even close. And the Super Bowl is like a number 2, like a distant number 2, which is crazy to think about with all the props and things like that go on.
Yep.
Because people bet on individual games, they bet on conferences, and then there's props on how far teams will go. So there is a bet, like there'll be a bet to say Kansas gets to the Elite Eight. That's a bet you can make. That
Yeah,
you can make that bet, and so there's so many different combinations, and everybody gambles on this stuff, and it's crazy. And with the existence of the live gambling sites, the Yahoos and the CBS. I did mine through CBS. This is an iHeart one. The idea that everybody does it with the tournament and does it all online and they track it completely.
Of course. Yeah.
They know exactly. And it's not comparing 65 tourney games, because what happens is it's during the days, and it's literally combining 65 tourney games to everything combined with the Super Bowl. So like there's the anthems and the props and the pregame interviews and all those different things. A lot of people, if you ask somebody on Twitter what is more money spent on, NCAA tournament or the Super Bowl, I would say most people would vote the Super Bowl.
Yes, they would, and they'd be wrong. So great.
And they'd be wrong. All right, man. Thank you.
Of course, anytime. Thank you, guys.
That's the man, the myth, the legend, Scott Seidenberg, right here on Twitch Sports. And you can, there you go. And then my face gets really big, and we can do that. We can make that smaller. Look at that. And we can make this bigger. Look at that. No, Jim, I understand your argument. I understand, but it's one entity, and the NFL, like the NFL does more if you include the playoffs, but the NCAA tournament and these 4 days are actually enough to beat the Super Bowl. Just these 4 days, it's crazy. And what I think the bigger discrepancy is how small the regular season is in college basketball compared to how big it becomes once the tournament happens. Do you think Kansas will do well? I have Kansas. Where do I have? I have Kansas going to the Elite Eight, losing to Gonzaga. I think they beat Eastern Washington. I think they beat Drake. I have Drake upsetting USC later. And then I have Kansas beating Iowa to go to the Elite Eight. But I have Gonzaga. And I know people say, oh, come on, why are you picking ones? I couldn't justify a reason to not have Gonzaga, Baylor, or Illinois. I didn't go for Houston. I have Houston losing to West Virginia. And I have West Virginia losing to Illinois. I have Oklahoma State beating Oregon State. I have Oregon State beating Tennessee. And then Oklahoma State. Like I went to, I know I played favorites, but I couldn't justify any of these. The only non-number one I have is Alabama. But, and different years are different. That's what happens. Different years change and different years happen. And I went chalk. I know. I'm not embarrassed. But I put money on it, so I wasn't going to be stupid. I just think there's such a discrepancy. There was a great Twitter poll, and let me see if I can pull it up. There's a great Twitter poll. My buddy Mark made a Twitter poll that said, would you take Gonzaga, Baylor, or the field? And I would take Gonzaga, Baylor. And usually I would always take the field. But I just see the discrepancy. I just think those teams are so head over heels better. And you know what? The beauty of the NCAA tournament is I'm going to be wrong. And that's fun. I just couldn't figure out who it was going to be. I couldn't backtrack. That stuff that we were talking about earlier about the cord cutting, it's fascinating. And this story, and I can get you the article. I wrote this article for Barrett Sports Media about it just shouldn't be so hard to stream your team's home games. Here, that's the link to that. It just shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that hard. It should be more of the situation where ultimately I think that if you are a fan of a team, you should be able to get their games no matter where you live. If I am a fan of the English Premier League, I should be able to purchase their games. If I live in Seattle, Washington, I should be able to watch the Mariners on my phone. That's how it should work. And I just think that that's the way to do it. And you're right. That's why the NFL prints money. The two things that I thought were very interesting. Number one, the Thursday night package. They think they're going to put I think the Thursday night package is going to be Amazon Prime. And I don't think, as long as you're Prime, I don't think you're going to need to pay extra for it if you're Amazon Prime. And I don't think anybody gets Amazon Prime for Thursday Night Football. I think you get Amazon Prime for the shipping, and then you get it. But the other one that I think is interesting is the rumor, and this isn't confirmed. The rumor is that ESPN Plus is going to get the Sunday ticket package, and that fascinates me because from what I understand from reading it, it is not going to be extra, like you're not going to have to pay extra for it. ESPN Plus, I don't even know how much is ESPN Plus right now. ESPN Plus is what, like $7 a month? I have it bundled into my Hulu, so I don't know, and I just get it. But the weirdest part about that, at least from my perspective, it's $4.99. $4.99. Wow. So $4.99. If you told me $4.99 a month, as opposed to, isn't it like $250 to buy it on DirecTV? It was a fortune. And I never got it because, well, there were two reasons. First of all, I had it when I first bought my house, which was about 15 years ago. I had it in the very beginning. My buddy, Andrew Siciliano, he did the Red Zone channel. And ESPN Plus is $4.99 a month or $50 for the year. That is a fraction. And if you could get every NFL game, even the Fox and the CBS games on ESPN Plus, holy moly, that's wild. That's crazy. Yeah, the NFL you can watch anywhere. If you have any kind of a package. Now, the question will be, will there be local blackouts? Meaning, if you have ESPN Plus and you live in the New York area and the Cowboys-Steelers game is on the main Fox, will it also be on ESPN Plus? Will it be blacked out in addition? Because that's crazy. That's pretty wild. What's going on? 49 seconds left. We can't go to it live. We can't go to it live, but 62-59 Florida, 49 seconds left, and a 5-second violation. That's what Jim was saying. A 5-second violation. I'm touching the wrong thing. I keep hitting refresh. So that's a Gators turnover with 49 seconds left. They're up by 3. So Virginia Tech has the ball. So we'll keep an eye on that one. In that game, as I just spilled, fantastic. In that game, I have Virginia Tech. So that there's a chance for that. That would be ideal for that. But yeah, so I put that article in there, and my whole argument is it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard to watch your local teams play, and you should be able to do it. And that's part of the idea. All right, so there's 49 seconds left. You guys in the chat probably have it on. Arkansas, by the way, with 9 minutes to go, is just taking a 2-point lead, 58-56 over Colgate. That's a 3-14 matchup, and it's just a 2-point game. So Colgate continues to stay close in that one. Illinois is all over Drexel, 47-23. Texas Tech leads Utah State 20-17 over there as well. Yeah, Jim's talking like I can see the game. I can't. I can't see it because if I put it on, there was no way to guarantee that the audio wouldn't bleed through, so I couldn't put it on. And I don't have another setup. I don't have my iPad. I guess I could put it on my phone, but I didn't think that was a good Twitch thing. I didn't think that was a good idea that I could pull off. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that game as well. Wreckham Tech. Oh, it's now 62-61. How about that, huh? So it's 1 point game. 29 seconds left. You know, it's funny. I always said, you know, when I said I was going to do this show, they said, oh, make sure you don't have the rights. The only time I want the rights is when there's a minute left. That would be awesome if I could put the game on. Like, flip to the game and then come back. Should we do that? Yeah, I mean that's the possibility. If we could, that would be awesome if we could, but we can't. Somebody just wrote me on Twitter and said, could not agree more. I dropped Xfinity, went with Hulu Live to see Cubs games, then Hulu dropped them. I can't go back to Xfinity's RSN and BRF charges. Guess I'm going to be a White Sox fan. Yeah, see, that conversation makes no sense. That's what I wrote that column about. It shouldn't be that hard to watch your home team's games. And if you don't want to have cable, there should be another route. I'm not saying make it free. That's not my argument. My idea is ultimately just make it available. Make it easy. Make it so that you don't have to cheat the system. You know, that story came out about Netflix trying to track down who's cheating on passwords and such. And I totally understand what their motivation for doing it is. I get it. But sports is more of a challenge than it is to just get a hold of Netflix. Netflix has so much content. If you subscribe to Netflix, you get all their content. And I think that you should be allowed to put it on as many screens as you want. Like, that's no big deal. Jim says, now I'll have to learn Roku to watch Thursday Night Football. Yeah, or if you have an iPhone. I mean, that you can't, you couldn't do it. But, you know, it's one of those things where ultimately, if you're going to be a sports fan, they should want to encourage you to be that sports fan. And if you have to do rev share deals to keep the cable companies afloat, okay. And even if you said it was an exorbitant amount of money, I'd be fine with that too. That I'd be fine with. The other way around, that I can't do. That doesn't work. All right, I keep hitting refresh here. 7 seconds to go. Florida leads Virginia Tech 64-61. 3-point game. So I guess Virginia Tech has the ball and down 3. Is that the deal? But wouldn't you just give your Netflix password to 3 other people? That would hurt Netflix revenue. Of course that would hurt Netflix revenue. Of course that would. Tech missed. So they're out. They're done. I still have 7 seconds left. The other games, by the way, that's the broadcaster in me. I can't let silence. Arkansas leads Colgate 63-58, 7 minutes to go in that one. Illinois all over Drexel 52-25. And first half, a minute left. Utah State leads Texas Tech 24-23. Those are the 4 games that are going on this show. Or at least while this show is going on. Tell me who your brackets are. Tell me who you have in the Final Four. Tell me the team that's not a 1 seed that you have in any one of the 3 regions that I have. Go for it. Tell me. I couldn't see it. Tie game? Are you kidding? Hey, look at that. Tie game. Yeah, CBS isn't refreshed as much. They should allow infinite screens on a Wi-Fi connection. GMM, I'm not sure what the Florida guy missed 2 free throws. Oh, really? Florida guy missed 2 free throws, so now there's still 7 seconds left. Oh boy. They tied it up. A 3-pointer from Aline. Is that how you say his name? Aline? Naheem Aline made a 3-point jumper with 2 seconds left to tie it up and force overtime. That's amazing. Wow. So that goes into overtime. That's crazy. You know what? I'm going to take the risk. If it bleeds the audio for 2 seconds, it'll bleed the audio. I'm going to try to mute it.
Put him.
Yep, there it went. Even though I said I was going to do it. Thank you, 2Pair, for following. Also to Will for following. All right, so it's 1.4 seconds left here. Virginia Tech and Florida. And I love how they keep going into the fans. 1.7 seconds left. That's incredible. I'm watching the 3 now. That is bananas. That is absolute bananas. Ben Manager Jr., if I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you for the follow. Also, It's Me Arda. Thank you as well. Awesome. OT, huh? That's crazy. So Virginia Tech and Florida. This is what the first round is. You get these random games, 2 random teams. 90% of the people watching don't have any clue about who these teams are. And, yep, exactly. 2Pair says you just needed one. You hate to see it, but you love to see it. Exactly. Oh, the free throw. You just needed one. Yeah, of course. Of course. Drexel, by the way, leads Illinois. That's a 116-20. Nope, that refreshed. 54-25, Illinois leading Drexel. 14 minutes to go. They're at halftime now. Utah State leads Texas Tech 26-23. There you go. That's awesome. All right, so they are going to overtime. Virginia Tech and Florida just getting started with overtime. We are going to welcome my buddy. Let me make this bracket a little smaller here so we can get his face in there. Dimitri Ravanos, who is one of the guys from the Barrett Sports Media Group. He's been a long-time radio announcer, and he is here on the show. Dimitri Ravanos. Let's see how this worked. Hey, it worked. And he's there.
Howdy.
Welcome, buddy. How you been?
I have been good, busy, but good. How are you?
Yeah, is it hard having the NCAA tournament while you're supposed to be working?
No, because I don't care.
You're not a big NCAA person?
I find, and I see you're wearing your Syracuse basketball shirt today, so forgive me for what I'm about to say. I find college basketball a largely unwatchable product. Now, my alma mater is in for the first time in a long time, so for about 4 days, I've been a diehard college basketball fan.
Well, the one thing that I have noticed all along is that the tournament is separate from the regular season.
Oh, for sure.
The tournament is its own angle. Now, you cover media for a living here. What do you think? Sports have been down. This is something we talked about last hour. Sports have been down across the board. Even the Super Bowl's ratings were down. The NBA ratings are down. Hockey's ratings are down. What about this tournament? Do you think it's immune to it?
Oh, not at all, because especially when you consider the rate of vaccination and whether it is wise or not, the number of states that are repealing more and more restrictions, like people are starting to feel like they can go out for the first time. Now, will some go to a sports bar, be it indoor or outdoor, and watch some games? Maybe. But yeah, I'm confident the tournament ratings are going to go down.
Really, I see, and I wonder. I thought that people miss this tournament because this tournament is different than everything else, and I just think that this tournament has the possibility, especially if you have quality games. See, the argument for the NCAA tournament is that you have two random teams that nobody knows about, nobody cares about, and they go. Virginia Tech and Florida just went to overtime, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
And there's not one of the people who are saying that saw a Virginia Tech or a Florida game this year. And that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me in the slightest because that's what makes this tournament unique. I think, and Jim in the chat room says, regular season college is unwatchable, but the tournament is a lot of fun.
The tournament is a lot of fun for bad basketball. I mean, it is fun for the moments. I think when you ask me, are the ratings going to go down? I mean, the simple answer is, well, no Duke, no Kentucky. Like history says, yeah, the ratings are going to go down. I think that one of the things that is definitely true is as we have expanded what the tournament is on television, and you can see the entirety of any game, it eliminated what CBS used to be so good at, which was getting you to the biggest moments right when they are about to happen. Now, I don't particularly think that's a bad thing. More sports on TV is good for my job, so I am all for it. But I think it sort of eliminates the ability for most people to learn a little bit about some of these stories, connect with some of these teams. I think that the reality of the last few years have been, we love a Cinderella story. We don't really like watching Cinderella, though. And I mean, there are Cinderellas throughout this tournament from the bottom up to the top. Like, how long has it been since Illinois has been this good? How long has it been since Alabama has been this good? And those are two of the top five seeds.
Alabama. See,
God's team, yes.
I think this is the one, this tournament got overshadowed in March because things were happening on all different levels. The country was changing. The shutdown was happening. The sports world, the NBA was affected. The NHL was affected. Baseball was in the middle of spring training. What were they going to do? And I think people didn't realize until it was way too late the severity of the loss of the NCAA tournament.
Well, if you don't cover and regularly follow college sports, like I don't think it is possible for you to understand just how much this tournament means to the NCAA and its member institutions, whether they make the tournament or not. Like, not everybody is an SEC or a Big Ten school with a media deal that distributes $50 million to each SEC school. Right. A lot of teams, a lot of conferences really rely on the TV revenue from this tournament. And, Coach K kind of hinted at this early in the year. And, as the year went on and people started to do research, they saw he was right. The NCAA literally could not survive if they missed another one of these tournaments, which you could argue whether or not that's a good thing. But certainly the people at the top in Indianapolis needed this to happen. And you can see, like, despite the fact that, the women's tournament, you are seeing this sort of backlash against how sort of slapdash that whole thing was. You are seeing players in the men's tournament talk about
their situation between weight rooms and swag and pomp and circumstance has been severely, it's just been minimized. And you know what? In past years, no one noticed it, but now it's trending on Twitter.
The thing is, like, you have to, I think, bring that back to equal when you are cutting out the ability to even enjoy being in San Antonio. San Antonio is a cool town. I mean, Indianapolis is less cool, but it's an event town. And
great restaurants.
You're cutting.
There are some of the greatest restaurants in Indianapolis. I don't know which ones are open. I don't know what the rules are, and I don't care what the rules are because I'm not there. But Indianapolis, there was a baseball winter meetings once, and I ate like a king, and I remember that.
One of the best covered walkway cities in America, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But my point in saying that is, like, despite the fact that you have athletes, both men and women, talking about how, largely we sit in our room and play cards and this is not fun. Like, the NCAA, they've got a plan, man. If you get COVID, you're just eliminated. That doesn't mean that you're done or that we're done with this tournament. And there's a part of me that kind of commends the NCAA for trying to do as much as they can. Whether or not it's smart, I couldn't say. But look, I mean, you're right. I think it is a staple of the sports calendar. I also think you said it got overshadowed. I also think it happened too soon in the pandemic for people to realize the severity of the loss. Like, if we had not had football in the fall, like, that is really, whether or not you are a football fan, this is the absolute truth. Whether or not you are a football fan, college, NFL, it doesn't matter. The end of the year goes by at the pace it does because of football, because every week is a countdown to Saturday or to Sunday. And then on top of that, you have the countdown from September to Halloween, and Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then the year is over. The NCAA tournament, I don't even think we had the time to analyze it in that way, because it was just boom, gone like that.
It's a great point. I hadn't thought of it that way. The timing of everything happens at such a time, and that's why the NFL, and everyone says, well, the NFL did it best. The NFL had the most time to prepare.
Yeah, exactly. Not only did the NFL have the most time to prepare, the NFL also had the fewest people they had to consult for decisions. So, as much as teams might have complained about, well, the Steelers have a problem, so now we have to play on a Wednesday, can I say bullshit?
Yeah, well, you just did.
Okay. As much as opponents might say, that's bullshit, only one guy gets to make that call, and that is Roger Goodell. In the NCAA, you are dealing, it's funny, the NCAA is very much like the way we have rolled out the COVID vaccine and COVID protocols here. There is no centralized authority. It is 50 different singular entities sort of left to figure it out on their own, and everybody has a different idea of what is right.
I love that a guy made his screen name Air Jordan 901, and thank you for the follow. I love the screen name. It's one of my Noah Dank Goat followed 3 minutes ago. I love it. We were talking about earlier. We got into a heated discussion about the story that I did this morning for Barrett Sports Media. The idea that in this day and age of cord cutting, if you are living in Baltimore, Maryland, it is easier to be a Seattle Mariners fan than a Baltimore Orioles fan. And that makes no sense. And the NCAA tournament is immune to this because there are no blackout restrictions and everything.
Right.
And you have any television service, you get the access to all the games, whether it's Sling TV or YouTube TV or Hulu Live or whatever it is. But in other sports, it is literally the opposite. And that's amazing.
Look, the year I moved up to North Carolina was one of, I think it was...
You said up from where?
Up from Alabama. I want to say it was one of only 2 times in the last 15 years Alabama has been in the tournament. And obviously now I'm living in a completely different geographic region. Obviously,
also in a different time technology-wise.
Well, yeah. So we're talking 05 here, right? This is before the Turner side of that deal was even announced. Like, it was an absolute struggle to find my team because the broadcast industry is set up to super serve the local audience. Makes all the sense in the world, right? But back before we had a bit of a channel shuffle here, I used to always miss the first quarter of the SEC game on CBS because they're serving their ACC regional networks. But anyway, my point in saying that is, it seems like, and you hit on this in your column, it seems like so much of the broadcast world is changing, and so much of the broadcast business world is pretending it's not.
Right. And this loyalty to these cable companies, and you say, well, these cable companies pay exorbitant fees. That's fine. Make a rev share deal and and say, listen, for every subscriber that we get to our Phantom app, you will get a piece of. We're not going to take the team doesn't take 100% of the revenue. Let's say the team only gets 45% of the revenue. Give 55% to Root Sports. The Seattle Kraken was the worst offender in this whole thing because they are starting in a new technological age. They had the
their arena gives them a deal with Amazon. It should have been a no-brainer.
And Seattle is, if any place is into tech, it's Seattle, Washington. There are more cord cutters in Seattle per capita, and you made a deal that turned fans off. And I made this point in the column. You know, I live in New Jersey, and I'm a Devils fan. I make no apologies for it. I'm the Devils fan. We have 13,000 people watching this. I'm probably the only Devils fan of the 13,000. Right? If you're a Devils fan, jump in the chat real fast. The idea that my 12-year-old who watches games with me, if I left for the night, if I just left tomorrow afternoon, if I said, you know what, I'm running errands, I have to go to the grocery store, yeah, I'll see you later. By the way, the Devils are playing the Penguins. Good luck. She wouldn't know. She's 12 years old.
Yeah.
She's not stupid. She would not know. If her life depended on it, she would not know how to log in. So now, fast forward 6 years, she's in college.
Right.
There is not a chance she's saying to me, hey, Dad, what's the password so I can get the Devils game? She's not doing that.
Yeah.
Now,
You hit on something else that I think needs to be addressed. You talked about the amount of rights fees these cable networks are paying. Look, not every cable network is owned in this way, but if your cable company is Comcast, if your cable company is Cox in some places, dude, the government has set it up for you to be a monopoly. Like, you have every advantage in the world. Why is it so unfathomable to give the fans one?
Right. Make it available. I'm not saying I'm not saying to pay a fee. I'm not against the fee. The Yes Network doesn't bother me. They created their own app, and they said you have to have a TV subscription. Listen, I'm not saying how I'm getting. Somebody wrote, what sport? Somebody wrote, Jim wrote, what sport did the Devils play? Asking for a friend. Very nice. Touche. The idea that at least the Yes Network just makes it available. So if if you have a login, however you get a login, you put it on and you can watch it, and it's relatively easy. Apple TV does a great job of not making you have to enter your password 7,000 times. Like you're in. Every 30 days you have to refresh it. That's totally fine. That works. What my point is, or what about this idea? Let's use Spectrum, right? Spectrum as the example. Does Spectrum have a $29 model that has no cable, no receivers, no nothing? It's just a login.
Oh, interesting. That would be a very good way to combat what's the word? Anger, I guess.
Well, so in
this
Seattle,
situation.
but make it affordable, not make it $112.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Use Seattle as the example. Could Root Sport have done a thing where if you pay whatever the local cable company is out there, $29 a month, you get whatever their cable system is, and that includes the Kraken games?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a smart thing to do. I think that, this is a problem exclusively now of the sports with extended seasons, right? Because the NFL doesn't have this problem. I think we seem to be going in the direction, although we're still about a year away, I think, from these negotiations, we're going in the direction that MLS is not going to have this problem. College sports don't seem to have this problem. Like, if you have a limited schedule, it is much easier to put together a lucrative and fair to both sides national package offer. Whereas, the Major League Baseball is the prime offender here. Even with their national games, they still subject you to blackout rules in some parts of the country.
Well, and ESPN, when they were negotiating the baseball deal, asked for less.
Yeah.
They said, please give us less games. We don't want your content.
I mean, it is a rough go for baseball right now. I don't know that I buy this idea that if the Yankees were better, baseball would be in better shape. I mean, people certainly love a villain.
Good enough. The Yankees are
But yeah, that's
year.
exactly what I was about to say. The Yankees not going to the World Series does not mean the Yankees are not a relevant team, right? And it's not like Los Angeles is a tiny market.
No, but Aaron Judge is not an eighth of the superstar that Derek Jeter was.
Oh, sure. And to be fair, Derek Jeter
that was what I wrote about last week.
Right. I was about to say, to be fair, Derek Jeter was not a quarter of the superstar that LeBron is. This is baseball's problem. And that's not to say that Derek Jeter was not a sports icon or even an American pop culture icon. He was. It's just baseball, A, has done such a poor job of marketing from a star standpoint, and B, has done such a bad job of marketing to kids that, like, I don't blame ESPN for wanting less product, frankly. I honestly, Seth, am surprised that ESPN didn't say, give us fewer full games and let us do more whip around kind of stuff.
Real quick, do you know, it's not official, but if ESPN Plus gets the Sunday ticket package, do you know if they're going to charge extra for that?
I would imagine that they would. I have heard that the extra price would not be nearly what it was with DirecTV.
DirecTV, it was over $200.
It was actually, I think by the end it was close to like $270. I would imagine that you will have to have a ESPN Plus subscription, and I would not be surprised. And the person I spoke to was only speculating, was not speaking off of any sort of knowledge. I would not be surprised.
Wait, hold on.
If
Trevor says it was $400. It's $400 now.
Is that right?
Holy
I mean, look,
moly.
I've got DirecTV, but I have never
believe Trevor.
been.
Trevor's a good dude, but that's wild. That's crazy.
I've never been dedicated enough to a single NFL team to even look at what the cost is. So if you say it's $400, I'm inclined to believe you.
Wow.
I was told by somebody, and again, this was just speculation, that there is a lot of reason to think that a Sunday ticket package could become sort of the next step of that ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu bundle.
So that the price of that goes up and you get the NFL included.
Exactly. Like there is,
you don't have a
version,
choice to not buy it.
Well, so basically what my buddy was speculating was that there is the version that costs what it does right now, probably up by like $1 or $2 every month. And then there is the version that is $10 more than that includes NFL Sunday ticket.
Wow, that's crazy. You know who loses out, and I say this because he's my friend, but Andrew Siciliano loses out.
Oh, sure.
Because he's not going to work for ESPN. And
let's be honest, this is going to be another place to put Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, that's going to make me nauseous. That will make me nauseous.
I will say this.
12,000 people watching right now. Let me just make this statement here. My name is Seth. I have never watched Stephen A. Smith do anything. I will say this. Him on Twitter. I don't know who he is. I mean, I know who he is, and I met him, but I don't watch his show, and I don't care what he says.
Can I address the people on Twitter real quick?
Skip Bayless, the same exact thing.
Can I address the people here on the Twitch universe real quick?
Go for it.
I am very similar to Seth, but go look up Stephen A. Smith telling you the 5 things he knows about hockey. It was 4 minutes and absolutely zero filler. It was dynamite.
That's pretty funny. That's really. How can people find you on Twitter? Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. At Dimitri Ravanos, Demetri is the way I spell Dimitri. Ravanos is exactly like it sounds.
There you go. And Andrew writes, I just hope Seth gives me his ESPN Plus password. No. We trade passwords. What do you have? Go. What do you have in exchange for my password? That's the key to the whole thing. I trade. I don't say who I trade with, but I trade. And to me, it's an even trade. The things that I give the access to are the things I get in return. The beauty was HBO Max, because I didn't realize that a pre-entered password all of a sudden gave me HBO Max. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I was prepared to buy HBO Max. This is when it first launched last year. I was all set to buy it. And all of a sudden they said, oh, congratulations, you have it. What would you like to watch first? I was like, cool.
That's my wife and I were kicking around buying it. It was like, hey, you're a DirecTV subscriber.
There you go. You're in. Thanks, Dimitri. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, no problem, Seth. Good talking to you, buddy.
All right, one last check of the scores. It's a final, by the way, in overtime. Florida beat Virginia Tech 70-55. Arkansas beat Colgate, or leads Colgate 82-68. There's like a minute left in that one, so Arkansas will win that one. Illinois all over Drexel by 30, 72-42. The best game to tune into now is on TNT. It's Utah State leading Texas Tech 28-25. There's about 18 minutes to go in that one. So that's how that works as well. Stay tuned. Twitch Sports is not changing. They're going to be doing live stuff all day long. And somebody, Beaker Blue said, hold on, it's March. I thought it was June. What are you saying? Thank you to all the folks who have followed this channel. We are going to be broadcasting again this weekend. There might be some NHL 21 involved. But yes, we will continue to be here. And you know what? If the guys at Twitch Sports need me, I'm around this afternoon. We can watch more NCAA basketball together. So we will do just that. Thank you to all you folks for listening. And don't forget, you can hit me up on Twitter at Seth_Everett. My Discord, I put the link in the chat. I'm on Instagram, but I suck at Instagram. And yes, we're on YouTube as well. So there you have it. That's all the stuff. And for the record, go Syracuse. Go Syracuse tonight against San Diego State. That's who they're playing. Yeah, I know who they're playing. We'll see you next time.